And we're on. One moment to shut the light. Less reflections, better for the audience, and stuff like that. And let's now move the mic so it's towards you, dear audience, and let's make it a worthwhile stream, I hope, once again. Here is September 2025. It's the 13th of September to be precise. So halfway through this particular month, still feels like summer has never left the building. I can tell you this much: this particular September has been pretty weird in terms of uh, being this weather and shit. I mean, usually it's all just rainy, wet, dark, kind of cold too, and now it feels like hey, it's still very much August or even July. So that's pretty much of it. And if you have questions, I'm just gonna now post on the very Rauta Discord that we are live. So there you have it. All right, that's the start here. So, people, welcome to the stream. Once again, if you want to make sure that I answer your questions, I'll give you a quick hint. Tag me like this. So put my name on it. It will be highlighted, so it's easier for me to see when you're asking me something. I try to answer each and every question, but I will prioritize the ones that I've been tagging to. I will just just got one question. All right, there it is. So welcome, Mika. Welcome to the stream. Huomenta. Quite late to say good morning. After all, it's 8 minutes past 10 in Finland. It's something like 8 in UK. I don't know. It's probably morning time or afternoon time in United States of America, and probably already something like those, what you call it, the small hours in Asia. So people worldwide coming, but except that people from Asia, probably Australia, already sleeping. So once again, we have beers and questions and answers. You ask, I answer, and then I also will have some beer. So as always, there is some beer. This time we'll try Mallasepät Tiramisu Stout, Imperial Stout. This is coffee, cocoa, amaretto. People have seen me tasting this before, so it's not the first time. Pay attention to the strength of the beer. As you can see, it's more than 10%, so gonna get me drunk. No, not literally, but you get the idea. So, hello, Kabiseta. I read Holocaust an evening, and I was like, what the hell? Hello, Stan evening. Hello, Ally. Hello, Reim. He asking, kävitkö koskaan Skal olutravintolassa Turussa? Can't remember I saw such a name that Skal. Skull. No idea. Hello, Black Widow. How unfortunate. Kippis to you as well. Hello, Eric. Good evening. Hello, Temporibus Fortium Iscariot. Also, we have someone from Asian countries. Very, very nice. People need to know that Iscariot is one of the long-time followers of the channel, and I've been proud to see this guy coming from a teenager to something that is an adult. So cheers to this bud here. It's been a pleasure to see this young gentleman growing up. Still a teenager, I guess, officially, but adult by now. So cheers to Iscariot too. So nice to have you here on the stream. And of course, Gabby Seta also asked me already, properly tagging me to the very question, which is always good. So, any inside information on when can we expect Turku Saatanelle artist announcements? Well, I do not know when, but I do know they are happening as we speak. There will be a venue, there will be a date. I don't know the exact date, but I know roughly when it's going to happen. But it's something that I cannot yet reveal. But as people have been, gotten to know, usually Turku Saatanalla happens in the very, very early March, roughly a month after Nordic Metal Cruise or Super Bowl for that matter. So that's roughly the stuff that if I was you, I was expecting it to be early weeks of March. But like I said, I cannot reveal you the exact date because it's not been announced yet. But that's roughly where I would really start waiting for some information regarding the venue. I don't think it has been announced anywhere yet, but I have, say, educated guesses where it should be happening. But since nothing has been confirmed, not the date, not the bands, not the venue, there is something very, very little I can tell you about it except it's happening. I will have some good news about Turku Saatanalle 2026 edition once it has been announced because I do have some inside information. But like I said, I cannot really discuss it with you at this point. I know, however, that whenever it will be public, well, Rauta will be among the first ones to be telling you that. People might remember that last year we did this announcement list with bands like Buried and Clandestine Place live here from Rauta headquarters. Should that happen this year as well, I try to make it so that we have this stuff better organized than last year. Yusu was here on my side, yelling the comments while the microphone is very much here, and some people bitched that my voice was too loud, whereas Yusi's voice was too, silent because the setup and all. But that's probably something that we can fix later on when things are ready to be announced. But that's pretty much of it, as much as I can tell you at this point. Ally was tagging me for something like pretty bumped today about Metal Threat Festival bands cancellation announcements today. It was pretty obvious those bands couldn't get visa or get played in the States. Same old conversation. Yeah, I saw some cancellations about Destroy 666 and Satanic Warmaster already. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and not getting the visas to enter the country. Now, I don't know if it's actually related to getting canceled, if something coming from the promoter side of things. But from the audience point of view, it's exactly the same. I mean, it doesn't matter, why it gets canceled when it gets canceled. It's gonna suck for American audience. All I can say, I'm sorry for American audience that you're suffering from your government, making it very, very difficult for some bands or some even like legal, legit business people getting into the country. I mean, as Europeans, we are winning because we get to see those, bands more and more because getting to the United States is hard and it's difficult. But it sucks for American audience because they actually have to travel all the way to, Europe for various places in order to see those bands play, or at least South America. So it sucks for American audience that their government is really, tightening the leash, to say the least, and that's why it will be hard for a lot of bands to play in the United States. And of course, the promoters are not likely to book those bands and put a lot of money on them when they might get canceled. I mean, it's very, very risky to book those bands when you might just be losing money without getting those bands to play there. So it really, really sucks. So much for liberty and, free speech and all, because some bands are not just able to come to the United States. Sucks, but what can you do? I guess you can start voting. No other questions where I have been tagged. So I will be going from up to down. So chronological order. So as always, I keep reminding this throughout the stream, but first of all, tag me, tag Rauta if you want to make sure I see your question. And the second, if you want to support the channel, you can do it by PayPal. Links are provided in the description box or any other videos, or you can use the super chat on your YouTube, or you can become a Patreon member. Always links are in the description box. But totally voluntary, don't stress about it. This is not, begging for you some money, but it just helps, us, that is me, to organize trips. Now back to questions. Bikas was asking, it would be an interesting drink test on stream instead of all your beer. What would be interesting drink test? I mean, please elaborate on that, please. Black Widow is asking, like, have I been to Gathering? No, I couldn't make it, unfortunately. And Iskari was talking about good old technical issues. What kind of technical issues did you have? I didn't see any errors here. Alfred is saying, greetings, Rauta. I hope all is well. All is well. Thank you. Very busy week. The busiest week I've had entire year, but all is good. Powerlifting going good. Family stuff going good. What else? Band is doing good. We're practicing, rehearsing some new songs for our November show with Fintroll in Marienhamina, the Ahvenanmaa or Åland Islands. In a few weeks, we have some gigs announced for next year, or actually one gig announced and one thing which we haven't yet announced. So Nightside will have a couple of gigs on the seas, so to say, which means that this Marienhamina gig is taking place on 8th of November with Fintroll and some other bands. It seems like we are the second to last band to play there. I mean, Fintroll is the headliner, obviously, but we're supposed to be the main headliner or whatever. And then we have this Nordic Metal Cruise 2026 taking place with Impel Nazarene, Rodent Sound, Swallow the Sun, etc. In February. So yeah, good things happening with the band too, and we're rehearsing new songs. We hope to record something new next year already. We actually recorded a demo with 3 new songs for our upcoming album, to talk with labels and all. So we hope to get a new album getting recorded 2026. Time will tell if that happens, but that's the plan anyway. Yummy, so good beer. What do I think about Steelfest 2026 lineup? Well, I already made my video about it. I think it's good. But there are lots of bands that I have seen, but there are also some bands that will be announced. But so far, so good. I'm always been, happy about Steelfest lineups. But since I already went through that in a video, I'm not going to recap it here because there are plenty of questions you could be asking. Unfortunately, or fortunately for you, that is already out with the video. And to comment that Satanic Warmaster and Horna are just about anywhere. Yeah, they play a lot. Okay, once again, now I'm getting a few more tagged questions. I will answer them first. Infinite Chaos Promotions mentions, thank you for this. The visa stuff is problem that's been going on for America for a long time across multiple administration. It's just now the problem is worse than ever been. Prices for visas are insane now. Now, I think a lot of people actually know this. I noticed even that I think Archcode was going to United States a couple of years ago and heard how much more expensive these visas were now than, for example, when I have been to United States the last time, which was in 2013. I've been United States 3 times, and of course, each and every time I have to apply a new visa. Never been expensive, never been hard or difficult to get. But what I've been reading, what I've been hearing from bands that are going to play in the United States, yeah, I can totally agree with Infinite Chaos Promotions here. The visa prices are more way more expensive, and they're mandatory if you go like with the band. I mean, if you get caught without kind of a work permit thing and you cannot just play shows there, you're gonna get fucked. So I wouldn't risk it. But it's too expensive for the bands to pay that visa for themselves. So it's up to the promoters taking care of that. So for bands to play in the United States feels so fucking hard these days as opposed to what it was. I mean, back in the days, obviously, a lot of European bands probably dreamed of playing a few individual gigs or even going on a tour in the United States. And that was possible. Nowadays, not so much if you are in an underground band because prices are going up. And of course, inflation makes things harder. And now, when visa prices and those work permits are harder than before, it fucking sucks for bands that want to go United States. Like, obviously, me too, with my own band on the night side, I would love to play in the United States. Why? Because I've been to the United States for 3 times and I really, really liked it. Obviously, going to this new continent, figuratively speaking, as referring to Europe as the old continent, I would love to play in the United States. It would be really cool to see something else than European audience, but it's not going to happen for bands of our size because of the prices. So it fucking sucks for American audience, really. Mash made a comment. If you were unable to make it to one of the two, would you say there is a hard choice between Turku Saatanal and Steelfest, or one is clearly better event than another? This is an easy question for me, really, but it's an important one. Steelfest obviously wins. With Steelfest, you have roughly about 50 bands. 3 days and some bigger bands, whereas Turku Saatanal is 2 days. It's indoor festival, so it's roughly about maybe 6, 7 bands a night, meaning something like 12, 14 bands as opposed to 40 to 50 bands at Steelfest. While I do think Turku Saatanal and Steelfest are very similar in nature because I know the organizers, there is no not being afraid of edgy or sketchy artists. These guys are all about music, not about politics, not about bullshit, not about cancel culture. I really like both events a lot, and I really respect big time more than others than these two promoting stuff. So these both events are among my favorite ones. But when it comes to the size and impact, how big these or small these events are, I would say obviously Steelfest is way more important and better as an overall experience than Turku Saatanale. I could even go as far as to say Turku Saatanale is the little brother of Steelfest. So once again, they're very, very similar, very, very much same kind of an audience. But Turku Saatanale is indoor, a club event, whereas Steelfest is outdoors event. So there's this weather thing. You get to be outside. You have 3 days, more people, more bands, and all that stuff. So obviously Steelfest is priority, but Turku Saatanale is a really, really nice event as well. Ihraim is asking here, have I ever visited Mallasepät Brewery in Naantali? Actually, 3 times now. This is how I get these Mallasepät beers now for free because I'm collaborating with them. They are supporting Rauta with their beers, and I'm giving them a little bit of visibility, talking about their beers and enjoying them. The funny thing is, I really was a fan already prior to this collaboration of sorts. And that's why I actually got in talks with them because, first of all, they're local, or even more so, they make good beers. So this is the kind of the stuff that I often buy, in local bars in Turku, because they have a nice selection at bars. They make good selection. They have like sour beers, they have IPAs, double IPAs, and also different kind of imperial stouts. They do have lagers, they have pilsners, and so forth. But for me, it matters mostly that they have really good sour beers. They have a variety of different beers, which I have shown you through different kind of streams and random videos. I even had a little bit of them at Steelfest last year. We had a little bit of tasting with friends. I was sharing some of the stronger beers with my friends at Steelfest. We made some photos. So obviously, I want to support this brewery, and it's really nice that they're doing this collaboration with me. And they do have fancy tap room. It's just a little bit away from Turku area. It's in the middle of nothing, kind of but you can just easily go there with a bus. So, for example, actually last year with my cameraman, we went to Mallasebat tap room or brewery, and we had some nice beers. We were planning year 2025, 2026, talking over beers and all that stuff. And yeah, obviously, I've visited a couple of times with these boxes of beers. I'm running a little bit low on the beer at the moment, really. I usually have like 2 or 3 beers in a given stream. So 24 beers last for a few streams, especially now that I had a few on the Steelfest, as well as promoters, the Steelfest promoters' 50th birthday. I had a few beers as well there. So I've been drinking a little bit more Malasebet beer than usually, not just on stream, but other than that as well. So anyway, I hope this collaboration will continue and will go on. And I strongly recommend people who love good craft beer visit Mallasebat tap room and brewery when they have the possibility to come to Turku, especially during summertime. Just quick bus ride, maybe 20 minutes, and you're right there. And they also serve some good food. More questions. Iskari is asking, by technical issues, I meant technical issues with audio and the interviews you're mentioning earlier. Oh yeah, you meant some like those old audio issues with interviews, back in the days. We haven't had them for a long time. Hello, Maslow. Welcome to the stream. Any thoughts about Defacement in the latest full album? No thoughts. I haven't heard them. And Iskari is also asking, what kind of alcohol do you consume apart from beers? What about hard liquor? Well, I show you what I always have, 1 or 2 bottles here. I have this recliner, this fancy full black leather, recliner, which is right across the TV, my audio setup. This is where I sometimes watch movies. This is where I play video games. Guess what? Just by my side here, always at least 1 bottle. You got it right. Whiskey. Usually Scotch whiskey, but not always. As you can see, I've been sipping pretty much almost full bottle now. This is Ardbeg on Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. So yeah, if you want to sometimes buy me a present, you don't know what to get me. Whiskey. It doesn't have to be Islay whiskey. It doesn't have to be smoky or peaty. All kinds of whiskey. I love whiskey. I love beer. So when I'm not drinking beer, I'm sipping whiskey. I do have a soft spot for some, drinks like, gin and tonic, one of my all-time favorites. But whiskey is something that because I don't have to store this in a cool place. I'm just, playing, say, like Assassin's Creed Shadows recently. That's what I've been playing for many, many weeks now. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to pour myself a little bit of whiskey. And then while I'm doing some kind of assassinations and sneaking around, looting, killing those enemies, and I'm sipping whiskey. Fits very well, by the way, Assassin's Creed, because Japanese people also love whiskey, and they do make very, very much like Scotch kind of whiskey. But yeah, whiskey is my go-to drink when not drinking beer. But, the thing is with hard liquor, any hard liquor, when you drink too much of it, you will get drunk. Whereas having beers, it's more moderate. But like I said, always a whiskey bottle by me. And I know it makes me look like a full-time alcoholic. But to be honest, I don't really give a fuck. Because I know I don't drink that much alcohol. But having alcohol always around, yeah, it's pretty much as essential as having your workout stuff by you, as well as music. So 3 things what I always keep close to me pretty much: music, alcohol, and workout stuff. This is my training bag, obviously. Okay, more questions you have been asking. Jay Killers is asking, what games you play? Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to play as much as I want to. I have only a few hours a week because I try to socialize during my free time. Obviously, I have my band that is taking some time, and obviously, my workout takes quite a bit of time. So I wish I could say I play lots of games, but usually I focus on one game only currently, especially because I do love open world action games such as Assassin's Creed games, but also like GTA, Red Dead Redemption, Far Cry games, which are my favorite first person shooters. So I guess in general, I could say I mostly play open world action games. I do also play, classic computer role playing games, and I still have like Baldur's Gate 3 on my to do list, so to speak. So I try to play as much as I can, but like I said, my time is very, very limited when it comes to gaming. So usually games like Assassin's Creed series, which have like dozens and dozens of hours, can be more than 100 hours, can take me months to just, go through one game. But I do love, exploring open world. That's very relaxing for me just to scout around places, look for some clues, find some beautiful spots, and then obviously have the combat and all. Ally is asking, I know it's not your job to fact check what people say in the interviews. I believe you saw my comment on Tribex video. Sometimes things said are not as accurate and unintentionally misleading. Ally, I totally agree with you. Obviously, when I do these live interviews, it's impossible to fact check all the things. And obviously, I want to give this time and place for these artists to say whatever they want. If they are lunatics, let them be lunatics. If say a certain if this sort of person I'm interviewing would say, yeah, the Earth is flat, or like that sun revolves around Earth, or something like that, I would be like, you sure? Or whatever, but I believe in freedom of speech. I don't always agree with a lot of things people say in my interviews, and of course there might be missing facts. I might be missing facts. I don't pretend to be, I don't claim to be a fucking dictionary. There are always blind spots for me. And for me, always, those interviews are, a learning experience. I get to learn a lot about from these musicians. They know their own scene, own history way better than I do. That's what makes so important and interesting to do these questionings. But yeah, I get it. There are always some, misunderstandings. Sometimes there are like unintentional fact failures, so to say. So yeah, I get it. So of course, that's why the post interview stuff, which is usually happening underneath the video interview as in the comment section, is very, very important. Obviously, it's hard or next to impossible to put those facts into the actual interview, but it happens. I think my grand example is this Inquisition interview I did a couple of years ago, because people were like making these claims about Inquisition related to the crimes he did, and about the claims that what was going on. Some people didn't believe what he did or did not do or whatever, and it's impossible to put them into the interview, obviously, because the interview was already done by the time the comments start pouring through. And as fun as it would be to continue with the artist based on these comments, it's usually not that easy. It's not possible. But it's important, in my opinion, to have these comments. I could just lock down the whole fucking comment section and make it so that the comments are not possible. But why would I do it? Because I believe this conversation and comments in general about interviews are very important, even if they are sometimes full of shit. But I believe in freedom of speech, and sometimes nasty shit is being said. Sometimes really, really poor judgment is done with the interviews and all. But hey, that's the price we're gonna pay for freedom of speech. No, Ally, I don't think your question is you said so. If my question is that if comments like mine is pointless or even annoying, no, Ally, no, they are not annoying. They're not pointless. I think you do have a point. So please make them happen in the future as well. Brian Mons, a long time follower, also asking an important question: outside of metal, what other genres do you listen to? I think this is something that I answered many times, but hey, it's always good to recap in case people need to know. Now, mostly I listen to metal, various genres, but I do love soundtracks. And when I've been doing this record collection video series, I've been showing to you what I have in my collection. I'm not hiding anything. So there are like movie or video game soundtracks, mostly movie, but still, even TV shows like Lost. I have Lost TV shows or Game of Thrones in my collection. Um, I do love dark ambient a lot. I think dark ambient is most of the time much darker than any metal in the world. Um, But apart from soundtracks and ambient, I don't think I have any favorite genres. I do like really, I mean, like really like some dark pop music like Depeche Mode, but there isn't too much of that I would know. Sometimes I like to go for some rock classics like AOR. Like listening to Journey can be very uplifting, but I don't have any Journey ones on CD or vinyl. So I guess in a way, my music taste is very limited. It's partially because my time is very limited, and what I'm listening to, even though I listen some maybe 10 hours a day, not so much on weekends, but typical weekday, I pretty much listen almost 8 hours a day to music here at the office. It's usually the review stuff, and for review I get mostly sent metal, so I'm pretty much stuck with black metal, death metal, thrash metal, heavy metal, and so on. And when I have free time, usually I'm doing some kind of a Rauta project, like a retrospective video, which means I'm basically listening even more those same genres. Like currently, I'm listening to the Dutch death metal legends Sinister's, discography. That will be the next retrospective video. So most of my time is really spent with metal. But sometimes, like for instance, when I'm driving someplace farther away and I have more time to listen to, I can just tune in for, like I said, Depeche Mode. And sometimes during the night I really like listening to dark ambient. At Steelfest, this has been this habit of many years. When we come back from the event, when the night is done, we come back to our Airbnb with friends. People are already getting to sleep, drunk and all. I'm usually the last guy who stays up, and I start my dark ambient disco, meaning that when people are going to bed, obviously I'm not blasting some blasphemy or whatever. I'm just listening to dark ambient. It's nice, kind of a toning down the evening. You go for the dark but very simplistic music. No beats, no screaming, no drumming, no strumming. You're just kind of toning it down with some non-tempo music. And I mean, there's a place and time for everything. When I was younger and I was a single guy living on my own and all that stuff, sometimes when I would, just stay up during the night hours, I would just listen to dark ambient during the nighttime because I think it's very cool. I hope that answers your questions with a rather lengthy answer. Um, Iskariot is also asking me, and by the way, people, if you want to make sure your comments are getting answered, tag me. I'm just going with these tagged questions as priority. Iskariot mentioned that you should definitely check out Dying Light Part 1. I do have Dying Light Part 1 actually here. And maybe even Dying Light The Beast, which is third installment in the series. Yeah, but I mean, there's only so little time, and while I would like to play the Dying Light, I have had it like 2 years on my shelf already. I do not have the time. And yeah, Ally mentioned that thanks, good point. They're supposed to know their own scene better than you, which was misleading here. And I had to call out, I've been covering in Iranian BM scene for 20 plus years. Thank you so much, Ally. This is very nice to hear. And I think you made the right comment to challenge Cheyenne of Trivax with this. But I mean, there was no bad blood, in my opinion, what I saw your comments and his reply to you. And But by the way, what it's worth, there are always people who might know Finnish black metal, scene better than me. I think I know quite a bit about it, but there's always someone who knows more. So knowing one's own home country's scene is not so much given just because one lives there. But I mean, I totally agree with you. Jay Killers is asking, do you like Goat Moon and what is your favorite album? Never liked Goat Moon that much, For some reason, I kind of started ignoring it quite early on. One thing is that I never resonated too much with NSPM stuff, and I didn't like them too much live when I saw them for the first time in something like 20 years ago. So I don't have a favorite Goat Moon album. The band Thigh Serpent, well, that's kind of too tame for me. Thigh Serpent is obviously a very important band in the Finnish black metal sense, which why I covered it in my original black metal series video about Finnish black metal. But musically, it's kind of a too atmospheric black metal, which I'm not too big fan of. I want my black metal to be more aggressive, evil, sinister, violent. And the Thigh Serpent is just like too beautiful in a way. Muchlos is asking, do you know if people from your close circle were inspired by the music of Jean Sibelius? Unfortunately, I do not know. Sibelius, as much as he's recognized the best Finnish classical music composer, has never been mentioned big time in Finnish metal scene. I mean, there are even Finnish metal musicians who are coming from the same family tree as Sean Sibelius, but still people don't mention Sibelius the same way as they might mention something like Bach or Beethoven or whatever. Occulta Nagelfar asking, since you like dark ritual ambient, have you ever listened to Monotone Merc? Never, unfortunately, heard that name before. Dystopian Chant is asking, hello, is your band signed to a label? Not really. We released our second album by Through Purity Through Fire, and we are now in discussion of, finding a new label. We might continue with Purity or we might find a new label, but we haven't signed any kind of contract for the time being. And now I will go back to the previous questions. I'm trying to find the right place that were asked before those tagged questions. Where Ivan Ooze was just randomly commenting, yeah, Machine Head sucks so hard live. Never saw them live. Unfortunately, Machine Head went south after the first album. Iskaret was asking, have you ever considered growing a full long beard mustache combo? Not really. I had a goatee for many years when I had long hair, and I have had a little bit of mustache, but I always feel like I'm just shaving. I really can't stand mustache so much. Jay Killers was asking earlier, what does your Patreon include? I mean, it's mostly just for supporting the channel, and there's 3 steps. This $3 a month, which is just getting to see previews. I mean, the interviews prior to other ones. And then there's this $10 thing, which is basically the same, but you also get to make sure your questions to the bands are answered in case you provide them to me before the answer takes place. I try to announce always those interviews first on Patreon, the incoming interviews. And then there's this highest rank $25 a month kind of a thing, which includes a free CD every month, as well as the previous tiers. I really kind of need to update those whole Patreon things at some point because I'm not really happy with them, but I haven't been figuring out like what should I do with the Patreon ones. I don't want to push the old supporters away, but I don't really know what kind of extra content I could give for the money. So it's just, if you want to support the channel, Patreon is a very easy way to do that. But like I said, I'm not expecting anybody to put money on Rauta. Rauta is always free of charge. And if there will be sometimes some kind of a behind the scenes content, that is supposed to go to behind paywall, be it with YouTube memberships or Patreon. I don't think that will happen, but I will. I I don't know, to be honest. I heard from Mikko Aspal from Northern Heritage and Clandestine Blaze mentioning that there are, for example, some kind of noise podcasts that do have big subscriber base because their interviews are behind a paywall, and that is a good way to keep those podcasts going on. I mean, obviously more money wouldn't help. I mean, wouldn't hurt. It would help Rauta because then we could do more interviews. But I don't want to put stuff behind paywall. It's just kind of against my principles. I That's why I want to keep them all for free. So when we do interviews, I just put them on YouTube. Advertising money helps a little bit. So obviously you will see advertisement because they keep Rauta happening. If I had to remove those ads and make no money out of the interviews, then there would be less interviews because obviously traveling costs. So going to festivals and shit, you know, you have to do it. So like I said, all these donations 100% voluntary. You don't have to do it, but if you will do it, I will be very very grateful, and you will see more content. More money means more trips means more interviews. So it's very very simple. So this is a great way to thank once again. Big thanks to John Jared Rocks or Jonsered Rocks from Sweden, one of the best supporters of Rauta channel. Thank you so much for your 1,000 Swedish kronor. That's big money too, by the way. In case people are wondering, it's almost 100 euros. So these kind of donations really really help whatever we are doing, and at the moment, because I always want to tell you what I'm doing in the future as well, is we're already planning trips for 2026. For Rauta, it seems like the rest of the year will be just local gigs. So just stuff that is happening in Turku or maybe Helsinki. Uh, we're not gonna go, festivals for the rest of the years because they're not really that interesting festivals for us for the rest of the year. And now we are a little bit low on cash. We have to save some money. So now I'm, putting my sights into Inferno 2026, which seems to be getting better with the lineup. And this year we skipped, so I kind of have to go back next year. And now the lineup is way more interesting for 2026 as it was for 2025. So putting the money, the budget for Inferno, and then some other festivals. Obviously, I'm gonna do some interviews at Nordic Metal Cruise where we will play as Nightside. So I have double duty to play the gig with Nightside as well as do some interviews. For example, we already agreed to do Impel Nazarene interview on Nordic Metal Cruise, and I hope some other band as well. Usually we have had something like two or three interviews per cruise. So I hope at least Impel Nazarene will happen. Maybe Rotten Sound, maybe Swallow the Sun. I do not know yet for sure, but that is a few months away. And when we're going to Mare and Hamina for that Fintroll show I mentioned earlier, I've already actually agreed that Fintroll interview will take place. So stuff is happening outside festivals as well. And when Pro Fanatica is coming to October to Turku in my home city, we already agreed with Paul Ledney of Pro Fanatica that we will do an interview when they come to Finland. So there's something happening even though festival season is over for Finland. But there's two more interviews coming out still from the summer of 25, and there's this Gehenna next week. Trivax was out yesterday, and then there is Old Funeral, and in general old, very very early 90s, late 80s black death metal interview coming, more death metal interview coming from Norway. The last one from Beyond the Gates. So you have two more interviews coming still from August 2025, even though we're here in September. And now going back to your tagged questions. Yeah, Jon said at the comments was, hello, old man. Well, that's at least a fact. Dystopian chat is how and where do you make records? Well, we are obviously asking a label for some budget so we can fund the recording and mixing process. It's not yet we haven't yet decided where we will record the new album, but that will or should happen in 2026. Um, yeah, Kevin Reiner is saying sehr cool to this John Jonsered Rocks donation. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, his career, Jonsered Rocks has been supporting the channel previously, and he's an active Patreon supporter, so he has been helping the channel quite a bit. You should be thankful to people like Jonsered Rocks or SK for the donation, which I think I need to mention to SK. We're running the stream here. That being done, Jegulars was saying, I think the Atmo flag is perfect when you're on a walk, but if I am in sauna or doing something intense, like working out or just feeling more energetic, that rather listen to more aggressive BM. I mean, Jegulars, I totally understand. Atmospheric black metal is very, very fitting for forest walks and stuff. I mean, I totally understand. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe I listen to something else when I want to go more atmospheric than black metal. It's just for me, you know. I want my black metal to be more evil or dark. Like we have discussed this many times with our band members with Nightside. That one certain word that should describe what example for what Nightside is all about. The songs, not so much lyrics. It's some kind of a darkness. It has to sound like it's dark and maybe a little bit, sinister. It can't be happy or beautiful, really. At least in my opinion. Obviously, beautiful is very, very subjective matter. Some people might find that some kind of a dark music is very beautiful. At the same time, it's dark, and some are like, no. But I mean, I like when music is dark. That's why I like dark pop, dark ambient, dark soundtracks, dark metal. And by dark metal, I mean any kind of metal that is dark, not the dark metal thing. Another donation. Thank you so much, Plastic Man. How come I haven't seen even this name before? And suddenly here he's donating 500 Swedish kronors. Thank you so much once again. He's mentioning here, just curious, and maybe you mentioned it before, but do you listen to more extreme electronic music like power electronics or death industrial? That is once again very, very good question because I haven't really been addressing that topic previously. Um, I can't say I listen power electronics or death industrial at home, but ever since I think late 90s, I've been to shows with power electronics, harsh noise, death industrial, Marshall industrial, and I do have some of those that stuff in my collection, like maybe not death industrial, maybe it's more Marshall industrial, like Puissance from Sweden, and in general that cold made industry scene. Um, I do remember liking, for example, Ordo Equilibrio, or nowadays it's something like Ordo Rosario Equilibrio. I think I still have at least one album in my collection. I do remember reviewing and liking to a certain degree for something like MZ 412 or Massen, how it is, Maschinen Zimmer, whatever. Um, and there are plenty of acts that I've gone through throughout the years. I've seen acts like, uh, Klama and not Klama, but fuck, it's on the tip of my tongue, but Genocide Organ, stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, I've always found that the death industrial stuff and all that fascinating. But power electronics and noise, especially, it just get kind of too noisy for me. It doesn't really. speak to me the same way as dark ambient or ritual ambient. But I find those shows very fascinating. So yeah, it's a good question. Jonsered is asking here, what is your take on more folk bands but still dark like Tervahat? Tervahat has always kind of escaped me for some reason. I don't know why. But I mean, for example, Fintroll, which I think goes for black metal adjacent bands but being folky. I mean, they are good. And Isengard, obviously, was one of my favorite. Storm, the side project by Fenris and Satur, back in the days, really good stuff. So there are these folkier acts which I really, really like when they're kind of a darker. And I actually remember already from the 90s when I was listening to some traditional folk music, which is more uplifting and happy, but kind of a darker folk music is doing the trick way better. Um, oh, J Killers, I'm sorry to hear that you're underage. Yeah, those metal cruises are, I think that they're limited to 18 plus. Sorry if you can't come because you would probably love those Nordic metal cruises. They are lots of fun because, well, you see bands, you get to drink, you see friends. I mean, not necessarily friends you already know, but like minded people. And in general, the mood is very, very good with Nordic Metal Cruise, which I hope people have seen on the videos I've made from those cruises. And of course, you get to buy some tax free stuff, beat candies for you or your family or friends, some tax free tobacco, booze, whatever. Take a relaxing spa, watch the archipelago. There's plenty of way to kill time. So, yeah. And by the way, Tag Me by Rauta, not Jerry. Do you smoke? No. Sometimes I have a smoke, randomly when drinking, and I have obviously smoked some cannabis over the years, but it's very, very rare and random. Um, okay, getting back to earlier questions. Yeah, I was already asking what does Patreon include. And Irem was asking about Mallasepat. Yeah, Mika had a good question. Um, you have to understand, Mika plays in Korkondrus, so there's that. What the hell? You are doing gigs without Korkondrus? Yeah, I cannot believe it's true. We're supposed to be hand in hand with Korkondrus, so it kind of sucks we are not doing a show with them. Korkondrus guys are really great stuff. They play good stuff live, even better live than on albums. So yeah, it's a shame we're not doing this show with Gorgondros, but yeah, sucks. Um, Ivan Ooze was asking, have I heard of Verglid, exciting black metal label? Unfortunately, I have not. There's so many black metal labels these days. These days, it's hard to keep track of them all. I mean, impossible, obviously. Um, Ivan Ooze mentions, I have always loved the band Soulefald, so unique. That's a band I have always kind of missed. I recently read some interview from Imhotep number, what's it called? This is an old Imhotep. I should be doing a review video of it. This is some zine I was reading during the summer. And this is, if I remember correctly, from year 2003. Really old throwback thing when you, it's funny. You have Aborum, Behemoth, Cradle of Filth, Dimmu Borgir, Camelot, Madame Autumn, Sieges of the Moon, disbanded a long time ago, Shining and Soul of Out. And it's funny, for example, when you have Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth talking about success, and of course you have Opeth and Catatonia. You were reading about their success 20 years ago, or actually 22 years ago. So it feels so funny because at the same time you would think a zine from year 2003 would feel outdated. But when you read these things about Opeth and Catatonia and Dimmu and Cradle of Filth, Behemoth, they're talking about success like it was 2025. So little things have changed, and even though a lot of things have really changed past 22 years. So it was actually interesting you mentioned Sulefald because they were interviewed on this very issue. But that's a band I never got to listen to. Maybe I deemed them too, I don't know, avant-garde-ish or whatever back in the days. So I never wanted to listen to them, and I'm still like missing out, but it is what it is. And hello, Jokonson. Yeah, Iskarit was mentioning this is such a great layout for man cave. To be honest, yeah, you have CDs, you have music, you have video games, you have working out set, you have booze, everything else except sex. Okay. Yeah, Iskarit is mentioning single malt whiskey is what his grandfather drinks apart from rum. Well, he has a good taste. Okay, I'm skipping through the comments I already questions I already answered. Jokonson is asking, have you ever made the mistake of getting wasted with whiskey and in the morning drinking water? Yeah, I have made the mistake of getting too much whiskey. Sometimes it happens. And then also, Jokonson mentioned the original Stalker series would be good for you. Yeah, I think so. I would love it. Terrorized is from Queensland, Australia. It's awesome. He is in the morning while we are closing in for the midnight here. Going through the questions. Kuisma Saarela is asking, Jerry, how about interviewed Sami Tenets or legendary Sir Mika Luttinen? Mika Luttinen interview is supposed to happen in early 2026. With Sami Tenets, I don't know. It would be great to interview Sami Tenets of Thai Serpent, especially since I've known Sami for a long time. But I don't know. I haven't seen Sami for a few years, so who knows? Hopefully, someday. Um, Don, a couple of these asking, what's your opinion on the recently dropped MWA track? I haven't listened to it. I noticed it was this uh, left out track from Exercises album, but I didn't really listen to it. I don't really have the time for YouTube to listen. I'm very too busy with the other stuff. And then we have Kevin Reiner. Hello, Wirkert. Ich bin Kevin. Hello, my name is Kevin. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a Christian black metal musician. They're not that successful yet. Well, you won't be successful if you're a Christian black metal person. So there's that. And then there's comment by Fa, if I recorded correctly. Cool Imhotep interview would be cool with more zines interviews. Yeah, I think it would be cool. I'm personally proud of that Imhotep interview because I wrote for Imhotep some 22, 23 years ago, only briefly, which I mentioned in the interview. Then I ran out of time. Too many medias I was, writing for at the same time. I had too much on my plate. But Roy is still a good lad. We have kind of becoming more better friends now that back in the days we barely know each other back then, and now we have bumped into one another so many times. I bumped into him many times in Bergen last August, and we had some really good talks also outside the interview. And I think those old zine making people are very knowledgeable about the whole metal stuff, and they're often not recognized how much time and effort they have been putting into doing those zines, how much stuff they know and all. And it's kind of a shame that people will skip those interviews just because I don't know who this guy is. This interview doesn't say Cradle of Filth or Behemoth or Metallica or whatever, so I'm not gonna bother. Where in fact they really should go for these kind of interviews in order to learn something that they really don't know. And as far as I know, there are not too many people doing the zines, going to festivals and say like, "Hello, I'm this and that. Let's talk." But yeah, I totally agree. We should do more zine interviews because they are really interesting people and they have a lot of stories to tell. So one can hope that this Imhotep Roy Christensen interview opened some doors for upcoming zine interviews, but I do not know yet. Okay, getting back to get back to those tagged questions. There was Dunn asking, could you shed some light on how you choose band releases for your underground metal reviews? Dunn, it's very simple. The bands contact me, and if they're willing to send a physical copy, CD or vinyl, I'm gonna review it. That's as straightforward as it is. So I don't buy the CDs I'm gonna review. That's kind of a would suck. You could put your money on something and then you would review it. I mean, it doesn't make much of a sense. And so there are lots of bands who want to me to listen to their stuff, which is just a YouTube link, a Bandcamp link, and I'm like, yeah, it would be great, but I have these boxes of CDs which people have been sending me, putting their money and time to send me such stuff. Should I rather listen to your YouTube link? YouTube isn't even good for music in terms of quality. There is nothing to show, there is no unboxing to do. Instead of when people actually do send stuff like this. So I'm like, yeah, if you want me to review your stuff, send me a physical copy and we get talking. By the way, would you want me to unbox this package which I picked yesterday? Would you like to see live unboxing? Not obviously the review, that will be done later on, but if you want to see me doing live unboxing, just let me know. More questions. Occulta Nagelfari is asking, what's your opinion on the current dark ambient scene? Unfortunately, I'm not very much on page with the dark ambient scene. Sometimes I think I totally dropped off the scene. I'm just listening to whatever I get my hands into. But I mean, I don't care if a band is new or not. If I hear some cool dark ambient, sign me in. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of cinematic themes take over. Yeah, that can be a shame, but that can be also a good thing. They're good, but I miss likes of Raison d'être, which are, by the way, playing in Finland next week. Aghast, Akon Satani. I totally agree with you, Okulda. But good music is good music, and I do have a soft spot for cinematic music. So there's that. Jon Seret is asking a very good question. Do you buy records still? Sometimes I do have this list of records which I are on my to buy list, but I don't, chase them actively because I don't really need them now. If I get them in 5 years or 10 years, it's enough. But I'm very picky what I put into my collection list. So when I'm ready to buy something, I have to be 100% sure. Actually, a couple of years ago, when I was, buying something for my kid as Christmas present through this shop called EMP, I was buying her some Super Mario stuff. So I also went to buy myself a Bathory shirt and actually a couple of CDs that were already on my want list. And this time they were like mid-priced. So good for me. And when I was doing this Cannibal Corpse retrospective video, I realized I need a couple of more Cannibal Corpse CDs in my collection. So I added them on my list. So the next time I'm going to order something online, probably will get those Cannibal Corpse CDs. They were mid-priced too. But then again, it doesn't have to be mid-priced. So don't get that idea. I'm just saying, sometimes I go for the second hand, sometimes I go for the new one, but I'm not in a hurry because I still am in the process of going through my record collection. And I'm in the letter J right now in terms of what will be the next episode showing what CDs I have. Currently listening to the letter K, and that's why you see this album by Ketzer behind me. So yeah, not in a hurry when to buy new CDs, but I want to do them. So I want to still buy CDs and maybe vinyl too. So 10 to 15 records a week, that's a lot. My phone is sending me some messages and like, what the hell is happening? What else? Yeah, that's a good drug, buying CDs or vinyl, whatever. Conservative Observer is asking a good question. What Finnish bands have lyrics good enough to make one want to learn the language? Now, I don't know if there is certain Finnish band that is so important that he would learn the language. Simple answer for a black metal head is Horno, but Horno's lyrics are not that great, but they are good enough. I mean, they're kind of a poetic, um, and as such, that might be the reason. I know this Italian couple of these women wanted to learn Finnish language because I think it was Kuoleman Laakso band, which is kind of a death doom kind of a thing. So maybe that kind of a band could do the thing. But I think most Finnish, I mean, the better Finnish bands do have English lyrics. So in that sense, I don't know. Horna is probably in a way the most important, especially in terms of black metal. So yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that. J Killers is asking, it's hard to find BM gigs that are not K18. I'm gonna translate these to allowed for people under 18. It's like my favorite band, Baratrum. There is no gigs where I could go because they are hosted in clubs and bars. Yeah, J Killers, that's unfortunate fact. The thing is, most venues that could host shows for people under 18, it's not possibly money wise because a lot of clubs and events are depending on the alcohol sales, and when you cannot sell alcohol you really can't afford have these smaller bands, and as such that's why there is this problem that it's not very likely for venues to have these bands unless they are 18 plus. So I guess you just have to wait it out and become an adult. I know it sucks, but there's no other way for you to have it. Maslot is asking, do I have any Bethlehem discs in collection? No. I mean, if I had, you would have seen them in my letter B episode. How often and Dystopian Chandy is asking, how often and where do you rehearse with the band? How do you write songs? No, I personally don't really write the songs. I'm more the lyrical guy. I know the guitar players, the bass player, the drummer, and the keyboard player, they do write songs. I cannot talk on their behalf how they write songs. Probably grab a guitar, keyboards, start going through some notes and ideas, and then put them on the page. When I do write my songs on with Annihilatus, I just pretty much jam. I have some ideas in my head, and you know, I just can play them with the drummer. But with Nightside, I write the lyrics. I'm basically waiting for the other guys to bring the songs in, and then I start putting the lyrics in them and all that stuff. We usually rehearse once a week, couple of hours maybe. Sometimes it can be like something like 4 hours, but we also talk a lot about our band stuff. So we rehearse new songs, we rehearsed our gigs, for the live set and all. So that's pretty much the typical stuff. And we have a rehearsal place, which is quite good. So there's that. Jerry Lambie says, nice Daisy Dukes. I don't know what Daisy Dukes is. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You're true with the post label thing. Okay, going back to your earlier questions with no tags. I'm already, by the way, done with the first beer. Slow drinker. Took me an hour. Okay, going back to now the backlog is lagging, but here we are. Okay, Jokonson was being like, I've been listening to Death Forest a lot lately. What do you think about the band Death Forest? I don't think I have ever heard it. Oh, you mean Hate Forest? Yeah, Hate Forest. That's pretty cool band, but I think Drurk is better. And then there's also a band like Precambrian, which has some same members or same songwriter. But Dead Forest, I mean, that would be an okay name for a band, but yeah, Hate Forest. That's a different thing. Um, Yokon someone mentioning also lineup for next Beyond the Gates seems a bit boring. Yeah, I agree. When they announced the headliner would be Emperor with Mortis and Faust, I'm like, yeah, but Emperor plays in Norway every fucking year. I've seen Emperor so many times that it bores me down. Yeah, Lucas, interview with Ledney is happening. And Maslov, yeah, old funeral stuff. We're really talking about the early days. I can tell you a lot about that old funeral stuff uh, later on because we visited some great places which were not mentioned in the interview. Oh, Iskariot already left. Now I noticed. It was 121 for him. Yeah, I get it. And Ally went to see Panzerfaust and Groza. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Hopefully a good kick too. Um, and there was this question about smoking. I answered that already. Oh, Johansson mentioned Metal Cruise was fun with metalheads at first day, but the next day the boat got full of 70-year-old kids and their families for some reason. They were annoying. Yeah, that always when the Swedish kids pour in. But usually the second day is still fun because I just ignore the kids. I just go for drinks and shit. Um, LB have been on both from the went from Turku to Malmö. Yeah, I don't know that one. I mean, that goes from Stockholm to Turku, but Malmö to Turku, I don't know that one. Um, Hello, Log Force. Nice to have you here. Log Force was asking how I see in the lineup of Fortress this year. We'll skip Steelfest because of Fortress. Yeah, I think Fortress lineup is cool, but I don't think it's Steelfest cool. Well, I don't know. Um, Yeah, Magic 69. I think early catcher is cool. I this is why I'm going through the records I have in my collection. I need to decide for myself whether or not I want to keep them as well. So the next one I have a couple of catchers down the line, and then there will be something else. Yes, Johansson, you said Death Forest, not Dead Forest. Yeah, Precambrian is pretty cool. And Dan, yeah. No problem with the answers. Like I said, always, people, I'm gonna tag it here. If you want to make sure I answer your questions, please tag me like Rauta. Write this. So see the comment box what I just told. If I want me to answer, make sure that I get tagged because the tags are highlighted. And Dan was commenting. Oh, sorry, is it Dan or Dan? For answer, what is your opinion about bands using drum plugins instead of real drums? Nothing beats real drums. One of the thing is it's not about how the drums sound. Nowadays, drum plugins can sound pretty cool, but you don't have the dynamics of the drumming. You know what I mean? With drums, you have to program everything. And when there is no person who can do the drums, but just can program the drums, they don't always understand what it is to play drums. So programmed drums always suck in comparison to when a real drummer does the job, because drummers know what can be done and how it should be done, be it about the accents, like when you play harder or when you just go for soft ones. So real drummer is always better. And yeah, Black Widow agrees, Steelfest is mandatory. And yep, Plastic Man says unboxing, yes. One person saying unboxing, yes, we're gonna do unboxing. But you know what? now it's time for a break. Not for a piss break, but to fill my glass. I have the next beer out in the open. This one, as you can see, only drops are coming out. 1 hour 14 minutes in. So I'm gonna flush my glass. I'm gonna get a new beer to fill my glass with. So see you in about 1 minute. Not gonna lie, when you have that strong beer, which is like 10%, kind of goes to your head. And I think I have pretty much answered the previous questions. So now going with the this is water, by the way. Always, kids, remember to drink water. Keep yourselves hydrated. This is old man explaining, kids, eat well, drink water, drink coffee, drink beer. Next in line is okay. I'm sorry. I need to always keep my Mallasebat friend notification when I'm having these beers. What is this? I had this tiramisu. And it seems we're back on. Don't know what happened. Some kind of a tech issue. Took down the stream for 1 minute or so. So we're back here. I hope most of you are still here. I think we lost a few followers on the stream because of this technical issue, but I'll try to continue from here. So I'm gonna answer your questions, and before that, we will go back to mentioning this second beer of today. If the first beer was 10%, this is a little bit lighter weight, only 8% strong. It's double banger from Mallasepat, Motueka Talus, New England DIPA. So it's a NAPA, which would be New England IPA or NAPA, but it's also DIPA, which is double IPA. So it's more like a NEDIPA. Yeah, gets confusing with all these different different names. And this is with Motueka Sub-Zero Talus Ibu 40. Ibu means international bitterness unit. So means how bitter the beer is. 40 is supposed to be something like middle bitter, mid bitter, or something like that. As much as I can remember, anyway. Yeah. So let's just take the water out of the glass and pour a little bit on the glass. Not on the glass, in the glass, into the glass. As you can see, quite foamy, very Napa-like, unfiltered. You cannot see through the glass. It's very hazy. So let that just go down a bit, that froth. And now a good time to answer your questions. So Jay Killers was asking, but at least I live 1 kilometer away from Steelfest, so I go usually sitting outside of the gates. Well, that's good for Jay Killers. And once Jay Killers is of age, he can pretty much just join us at Steelfest. So it's great. And Loki Force is mentioning Fortress has more bands. I have listened hundreds of times, but Steelfest not. Still have Hodlet in Riihimäki in case I regret. I get it. You have plenty of time to figure it out which way you want to go. Um, Dystopian Chand is asking, do I follow other metal YouTubers like Wyatt's Metal, for example? I gotta say, I'm very lazy with YouTube in general. So I'm like randomly checking out videos from various metal YouTubers. It's not like I disrespect them. I actually respect them doing very, very interesting content in so many ways, and it's very different from mine, which I think is good. And maybe they are bigger than mine because I focus too much on reviews, whereas these guys do something else. Included Boris, Wyatt, uh, and that is the German guy I'm supposed to remember right now, but I can't get it in my head. But when I meant the German guy, you probably know what I mean. So I think they're doing good job. They're probably better YouTubers than I am, but hey, I do mine, they do theirs, and that's it. But I don't actively follow them. I check them from time to time, and when there are some cool videos, I might check them out. But unfortunately, time is very, very fucking limited. And Yokon Sonia next year's Steelfest is very interesting lineup too. So there is that. So pretty much like Okulda says, lineup always kicks ass. Conservative observer was saying like, thank you for your answer, but I really meant in general there are for sure certain Finnish bands, no matter what music genre or attitude, that stand out with very well thought out lyrics. Yeah, sure. There are bands which do some good lyrical content, but I think most of them don't do lyrics in Finnish. Um, so there is that, and I'm really thinking like probably Finns are better with Finnish language as well. But the thing here is, I guess most want to do it in English because it's more international. So, as much as I would like to give you some names, like you should be learning Finnish because of these bands, I don't know. If there's a couple of bands, but I don't know how would well these would translate it to, and I'm gonna write it down for you so you can check them out. Is hold on, I'm thinking of the name, um, and other one would be these two names. These are very kind of classic names. So maybe check them out, but I don't know. Their lyrics can be very, very like dark, but not in the way of metal, but kind of a what do we have in Finnish? We say inho realismi. Inho is like that, like not discontent, but when you're really kind of disgusted by something, and inho realism means realism, like something is very, it's so realistic, it's disgusting, it's horrible, like say uh, when you go really dark in that realism. So it's kind of like you see broken families, alcoholic people, domestic violence, unhappy families, shit like that. Um, when you go for these lyrics, you might find something like that, like people, you know, getting killed or into divorce or something, like because of, having substance abuse, something like that. So very much like the opposite of being romantic, if you will. So, but sometimes there are funny stories too. So I guess Levy and the Leavings, for example, actually they made these kind of Schlager songs with very, very funny lyrics. I think very creative. And I think they are something that if you want to learn Finnish of, because lyrics, they could be that. Jonsson Rock mentions Marras. Yeah, you mean the black metal band Marras. There are a couple of bands with Marras from Finland. Yeah, then thank you so much. Yeah, I met Farvan. Farvan does some good content. And Black Widow, thank you for your comment about great job on YouTube. What I mean really is, like, I know most people don't give a shit about reviews. They do like the interviews, which I think is the main content, obviously. So I mean, if I had made more opinion videos or like this Cradle thing recently, people would probably like Rauta more. But I mean, I want to do reviews because I want to talk about the actual music, not just the drama, not just the people around it. I think music is, in fact, the very reason why we are here. And in that sense, reviews are even more important than the interviews. But let's be honest about it: interviews is the most fascinating thing I do for the channel, and I think for a reason. Jokon, so god damn it, we met at Greek Hallen. That Finnish guy. I met so many guys. Yeah, yeah. I remember meetings, but I kind of put a face to your name now. Maybe you didn't introduce by the name. I'm not sure. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, just poke me when you see me. Eventually, I will, connect the dots with the name and person. Zachary is asking, do I like moonlight sorcery? Not so much so far, but I don't know in the future. Who knows? And yeah, as you can see, conservative observer Johansson is pretty much saying what I'd said. Levi and the Leavings and Eppu are the absolute goats in every Finnish person music taste. Even if you don't like the music, the lyrics are good. So yeah, and I was thinking also Juice Leskinen when it comes to Finnish lyrics, but decided to mention those two. Yeah, but conservative observer, mind you, the music might feel a little bit odd, but if you go for the lyrics, they are good enough, and maybe you will like the music. That's why I think Levi, for instance, is so much appreciated in certain metal music scenes in Finland, even if the music has nothing to do with the metal music. I mean, it's kind of uplifting Schlager stuff, but that's where the contrast comes from. The music is kind of a happy mood Schlager stuff. Everything is nice and cool. But when you read the lyrics, they are sometimes very dark. And even when they're not dark, they can be very not sexual by nature, but there's this thing about that too. Like there's this song about this fat woman, basically. Like this guy is singing about you have so big tits and so big legs that he basically wants just to dive into the curves. So basically, it's a kind of ode to curvy women, but not in a clumsy way, but very, very poetic ways. I think Johansson knows very well what I'm talking about, and I find it fascinating because I've never been to curvy women, but the way those lyrics are written, they're very entertaining. It's almost like a love letter to women with curves, the plus size women, if you get my drift. My point here is there are lots of real life stories with those lyrics. Or this story when the guy wakes up staring at the mirror, being hungover, and he realizes as much as he drinks or whatever, he's still seen as the stud of the company. He's making the women laugh, and he's gonna fuck, and it's just this kind of a low key realism in a way, not some high fantasy. So yeah, there is some certain how to say enchantment, to these lyrics in a way. Hard to describe, I guess, but yeah. Yeah, thank you, Magic 16. And grittiness, that's exactly the right word. And now that you say it, it's like, hey, it's too obvious. Sometimes I just kind of forget these certain words. Like, even if it's like before my eyes, I'm like, I'm not connecting the dots. Maybe I'm just becoming old. Maybe I'm just forgetting words. But yeah, grittiness. Thank you so much. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Um, what about else? Then he says, like, I think that there is more than enough of content and drama, especially for the related and cradle field. Yeah, if there are not many channels that review good underground stuff, Dan, yeah, thank you. That's what I tried to do. I tried to talk to people about the less known bands. I mean, it's kind of a pointless if you always talk about the new Metallica or Iron Maiden or Megadeth or whatever album. It's fun to talk. Like, say, for example, I'll use this as an example because as the next ones I'm gonna review. I recently got this handwritten letter from a Swedish band called Mist Ruin, and I have these two albums that I'm gonna review next week. I don't even know the band, and it's funny because I've been doing metal reviews more than 23 years now, almost 24, and every week I find new bands. It's so fantastic. That's what makes this review work so great. Like even though I've been reviewing something like 7,000 releases by now, through Imperium and now Rauta for the past few years, still every fucking week I get new reviews. And other stuff, I showed you that one of the boxes I have here by me. There's also a couple of albums I haven't been put into alphabetical order. Like, whatever is this Blutsauger? I haven't heard this. And then there's this another band called Impio's Throne. Just got them from Italy earlier this week. So it's always fascinating. So that's the beauty of it. I get to listen to your new stuff and I get to talk to you about it. So it's great. Yeah, Plastic Man, I'm glad that you like the Antichrist, Siege Machine, and Hell Butcher stuff. Totally two different style of bands in terms of musical style as well as their location. Hell Butcher being from Niflheim background from Sweden, and Antichrist, Siege Machine from United States and stuff. So it's interesting. It's totally different, but good stuff. Um, Yeah, conservative observer. That's a good if you like to listen to different kind of music. Um, Johansson drove to Beyond the Gates from Lapland to Bergen. Wow, Stockholm to Bergen in one day. That's fucking crazy. Wow, must have been an interesting trip. I would have gone first from Stockholm to Oslo, sleep overnight, and then Oslo to Beyond the Gates because from Oslo to beyond Bergen, it already takes something like 8 hours, especially if you're enjoying the views. Um, oh yeah, Don, that sounds like Hank Williams the third might be my cup of tea in terms of that. Oh, good to know that you have the mystery and albums. Okay, now as I promised to Plastic Man, I'm gonna do this live unboxing. Maybe this is something I should do more often in streams to make it more entertaining. So here is my quality knife. I don't even remember from which band I got as part of a promo gift, something like maybe 15 years ago. But this small, tiny um, Magnum, maybe that was the name of the band. I don't remember. This tiny little knife of sorts, if you could, blade of sorts, has been opening probably thousands of packages. It's very, very fitting, small, always on the shelf of my table, and it's very good for opening packages. I mean, go for this real knife I got when I was going to my friend's wedding. Um, what it was, 2005, 20 years ago, now divorced. This could be very, very much more fitting, like, stabbing the stuff. It actually has these stains of uh, the glue what you get from the the tape. So it has these stains. By the way, actually shows my name somewhere here. Was it is it the other way around? Yeah, you get to see this. I don't know if it makes if the zoom can actually work it out, but you maybe see the date right there on the blade. I'm gonna actually put my glasses on to read this. This is probably the only time you're gonna see me using glasses here. Yeah, it's just something like I'm just gonna scratch the markings right here. It's just something like best man. Yeah, best man 31st of July 2005. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you can read it. But roughly right there, it just says it. Okay, let's put it this way. Roughly here. Best man. 30, or is it 30 or 31st, 7, 2005. So yeah. This is a very, very typical and nicely handmade knife from the certain area in Finland. They have these traditional knives, but I kind of feel it's too much to open the package. So yeah, Johansson, I get it. I get it. It's hard to fuck up the reservations and all that stuff. So yeah, but the main thing, you made it. No, it's not the Sami knife. Sami are way more Lapland. This is more like Pohjanmaa, which is, or is it maybe Pohjanmaa is something like 1/3 north from where I live. So not that much high up north, but it's this kind of a countryside area, if you will. This is so nicely taped, so I gotta figure out how to properly open it. I think I know what's inside. I think there's a couple of LP. I mean, this is from Woodcut Records, mind you. Uh, I know there is some Terrain LPs inside, but I don't know if there's one or three. I mean, probably two. I was expecting two. So it's a fuck. So I don't know how many LPs are gonna be inside, but we'll find out. Let's put the cardboard right there. So now we have this. More cardboards. So what do you think? Two LPs maybe? One more layer of tapes. And this is harder than you look at doing it on the camera, but because I would rather do it on the table. Okay, now you're gonna get something what's inside. So let's slide it out. Yeah, I think we have some two nicely packed LPs, some reissues from the Finnish underground. You know what the band is? Now you can see it. Terrain, Symphonies of Infernality CD. It says CD for some reason, but obviously these are vinyl ones. And the other one is Terrain Black Harmony CD. But as you can see, it's vinyl. It's funny, it says artist, Terrain, title, Black Harmony, format, CD. Guess someone didn't upgrade or update the actual promo letter. So what we have here is their first album, Symphonies of Infernality, and this is obviously Finnish black metal. I'm not gonna do total unboxing here because that's saved for the review video. This will be done in two separate videos, but I will still show it to you since I promised to show what's inside the box. And then we have what was originally released as demo, Black Harmony. This is one of the all-time best black metal demos of all time. It's 40 minutes and it's really, really good. And that's why this is not officially the debut album, because this was originally a demo, but it was released later on as CD and now on LP. So I will review this in separate videos later on, but now you know what's inside the box. So we'll talk about the music later on. Now I already made an episode of Finnish black metal series coming from Finland, and I went already through Therain's career in that video, but just briefly listening to ones, these deserve their own respective review videos, of course. And Lokeforce, of course, thanks to you for sending the Gives CD. By the way, the Gives thing, I mean, it sounds Gives from Finnish language, which Gives would mean testicle. Yeah, Johansson. Yeah, every man probably needs good puukko or Finnish knife. But yeah, this is what I wanted to show because I had this one unboxed box here. Usually, I open my mail very quickly as I receive it, so that's why I cannot do these like once a month unboxing streams. I mean, it would be kind of a fun for content, but that would mean I have a big pile of stuff to go to unboxing. So let's consider this a special thing. Yeah, you probably, Okonson, you probably need that Black Harmony vinyl at least. But yeah, proper unboxing with the proper stuff later on. And indeed, Black Harmony is really good stuff. Dystopian Chandi is asking, where do I work out? I just go one of the normal gyms, which is like 10 minutes drive from here. So yeah, it's a kind of a normal, common, commercial gym. It's pretty much the only sensible one right here. We have two gyms. One is highly expensive because of the group exercise thing, and one is for just a normal gym. And the difference is like one is like 40 something euros a month, the other one is something like 70. So yeah, I don't really need those guided classes. So there's that. And I currently I'm going through this Juggernaut program for a little bit powerlifting, and it's been going pretty nicely. Okay, guys, are we done with questions, or you don't want to do more stream today? So you want to ask me more? So just let me know. Because it makes no sense to run this stream if there is no questions coming. So it's up to you people how much we keep this alive. Jay Killers is like, I can send you a copy of my solo project album when I get it done. It's still on early stages. The quality might not be good because of DIY. Well, you do you. Um, I've used to a lot of bands that send me demo level quality, and of course I still review them. But I mean, there's a reason why a lot of things are demo level as opposed to album level. Let's be honest about it. It's not so much about the songwriting between a demo and an album. It's more about how focused you can be, how finished your songwriting and also production is. Sometimes the difference between a demo and album is really really big, especially back in the days in the 80s and 90s when bands couldn't do good quality with demos. They were like operating in their rehearsal room, and they probably didn't have a good recording quality equipment. Nowadays every other band can just do good quality with laptops and even smart devices. So the difference between an album and demo is less than back in the days. But of course, if there's like good studio you can use and someone knows how to mix and master the whole recording, I mean, there's still a big difference sometimes. But I mean, if you have a good selection of songs, demo can be really really good. Black Harmony demo, which I just mentioned with Terrain, is they did it in a Tico Tico studio, which was already known for Impel Nazarene, recording their albums. We, as Nightside, we also went to Tico Tico Studios back in 1997. Only, I think, a year later, around the same age, same time as Terrain. And both Terrain and our demo with Nightside, they sound fucking strong because it was done in a real recording studio where you had lots of albums coming out. So yeah, there's a huge difference in if you do a demo in a proper studio or just in your rehearsal room. So there is that. Catch you later, Jon Zered, and thanks once again for your donation. And I had Legions of Perkele CD, and I have sold my own copy of Legions Perkele away. Plastic Man Terrain is, I mean, they changed over the career. If you would watch my video on the Finnish black metal series, which is, by the way, next Saturday, so 1 week after that, you will get my full view of the story. How the music is. But first, Terrain is kind of like Immortal making babies with very early Emperor. Think about in the Nightside Eclipse, what kind of a little bit more aggressive with a little bit Immortal in the mix. And the follow up thing, the debut album, is roughly in the same box. Then they started changing. Um, I think with the second album, they had a little bit of the kind of a rebel extravaganza, Satyricon era. So a little bit kind of industrial coming, seeping through the cracks. Then they went deeper into industrial, and then they made comeback to their classic black metal. But Black Harmony is kind of like very close to what Emperor was doing, but still different. And what it's worth, I think Black Harmony is easily better than Anthems or anything else by Emperor, excluding in the Nightside Eclipse. Yeah, Killers, I get it. To do it for your own entertainment makes more sense, but obviously, I think you want to improve your game on the run. Jokonson has a good question about the best venues in Finland. The obvious one in Helsinki is Tavastia, Kulttuuritalo, and Äänivali. I don't have really that much experience with Kulttuuritalo or Kultsa. Nowadays there's Anivalli and Tiivistämö. They're pretty good too. I think in a way Tiivistämö is better than Anivalli, being part of the whole Suvilahti area with Tuska and all. It's a smaller club in that sense, but I mean the stage is better than with Anivalli, where there are these columns in the middle of the hall. Tavastia is it's a classic. It's pretty good, but I don't know if it's that good. Um, there's always this question, like with Greg Holland at Beyond the Gates. Greg Holland is a good example, like where you have the fucking great sound quality, but it's not exactly the best, in terms of metal feeling. So sometimes a good venue is where you get this real metal feeling to it, the atmosphere. Like in Bergen, when you go this USF Verftat, that was just one day this year. Previous years, it's been like 2 years, 2 days per year. Um, so that is more metallic, or much like this Rockefeller in Oslo for Inferno Festival. That kind of a club venue is better in terms of how the atmosphere is for black metal and death metal too. Whereas Greek Holland is classic concert hall. So do you get this real black metal feeling when you go to a concert hall which is made for classical music and the like? Not really. But in terms of how the music quality is, well, it's different. So it's always like, would you rather choose the good sound quality or the atmosphere, or the other way around? So that is a kind of a very, very good question in that sense. It comes down, in my opinion, to each and every individual gigs. Sometimes you can just ignore if there are sound issues when the gig is really good, but sometimes you're also like, if the sound is too mushy, it's if the sound is just too shitty, it's gonna ruin the gig. I remember seeing Mayhem, for instance, some 20 years ago in my home city, and the sound was really bad. I was like, "What the fuck is this song?" Like, you're like, I can't really figure it out. But by the time came to the, I think, chorus stuff, you're like, "Oh, it's Freezing Moon or Funeral Fog, whatever it was." So it's, I don't know, it's complicated to, like, I like this club in Turku. It has gone under different names throughout the years. It was um, Utopia at some point. It was Satama at some point. It was Klubi and Gong in some place. You know, has gone under different names throughout the years, but it's been always the same venue, just with different people. And while it's not the best in class, the feeling is very, very strong. The atmosphere is very, very strong with that place, much like Tavastia. Because Tavastia was the first place I went to see real black metal shows back in the 90s. I mean, I got to see Cradlefield, I got to see Emperor, I got to see Gorgoroth for the first time, and this was around 97, 98, something like that. So, in a way, atmosphere can really make up for a lot of failures in that sense. Um, but when it comes to having the good balance, it's hard because the best places with the sound are like Greek Holland. Like I said, really high standard when it comes to sound quality, but not exactly very underground metal when it comes to the feeling. So it is really a complicated thing, and some places can live with more death metallic bands. Some are more fitted for heavy metal or thrash metal or traditional metal, and some are more suited for kind of a raw black metal. So it really changes from place to place. Um, S Hark Music is asking, is the Death tribute bands any good? Maybe if you're referring to the Left to Die Death tribute band, I haven't heard it. Um, oh, now this is showing the fans with the experience points. This is pretty sweet. I was wondering what are these things calling like rank 3 and rank 2. Rank 1 is with Jonsered. He has the most experience points. This is something to do with the comments and donations. This shows just like Jonsered Rocks is number 1 fan on this stream, Plastic Man number 2, and Johansson number 3. It was funny to see those icons just by their names. Um, Johansson was asking, what do I think about Stamina? There's a stable of finished medals in an absolute masters of catchy riffs. Now, my problem with Stamina is that I don't really find their songs catchy or memorable. I've seen them live and I know they're energetic, but I just can't enjoy their music too much. And the same thing happens with their albums. It's kind of a shame, but they don't do much for me. Um, Dystopian Chan has very, very good questions. How do I find topics for lyrics? Now, I guess every lyricist out there is having some kind of writer's block eventually during their career, for the lack of better word. Sometimes I kind of feel like I'm out of ideas, or the ideas that I have are totally wrong for the given band. Um, but sometimes it's just very, very simple what you really need. Like for me, when I'm writing stuff for Nightside, it has to, fit the theme and the style of band, which is very different from Annihilatus, even though they are both black metal bands. So, whereas Annihilatus is kind of a more nihilistic and war related in lyrics, it comes from a little bit different source, even if it's just me doing the lyrics. Like one of my favorite things, what I wrote for Annihilate's third album, which is supposed to be out this year, is when I figured out, the saying like blind man leading the blind. And I mean, I like the idea, when there's blind man who doesn't see things where he's going to, and the flock who is following this, they're also blind. And I was thinking, what if the leader was blind? Like he doesn't know where he's leading these people. But what if his followers were deaf? So it was like there was like two missing links. So the blind one would be leading these people who wouldn't even listen to this person because he cannot they can't listen to this guy because they're deaf. So the blind man is giving instructions, but the others can't hear, but somehow they're still following. I don't know if this gets too complicated because now you might be pointing out, okay, but at least the deaf people can see, whereas the blind man cannot, and they could tell. But I find this idea very fascinating that sometimes it's not just about blind leading the blind, but it's almost like blind is leading the deaf. So there's more of level of this communication, what I find fascinating. Another thing was what I really liked writing about was this idea that who digs the last grave. That was one of the topics for one of the songs. What I wanted to write about is like when everybody is dying, who's gonna dig the last grave? Obviously, it's not the last person alive because the last person is not digging a grave for that person itself, or if that person is digging indeed grave for him or herself, he's not able to bury the grave. So one grave will be left unburied. And why would you even dig a grave for yourself when you know there is nobody really to see the grave in the first place. If you got my idea, what I'm saying here is sometimes it can be very, very, how to say, sometimes these go more into philosophical levels in a way. So I like to explore these different word plays and also these ideas that really could come to true. With Nightside, it's different. I don't feel like war themes are so fitting Nightside as they are fitting in Annihilatus. But with Nightside, it's all about, you know, death and darkness, kind of a traditional black metal things. One of my favorite lyrics are exactly for the song called There Won't Be Another Dawn, which is basically about world ending. I mean, the lyrics are about, so the world is gonna end, and there's no way to prevent that from happening. But you realize at some place, some phase, that this is it. You know, all the mistakes were done, and now we're kind of gonna die. And that is fascinating idea that when you kind of realize you're gonna die, you're gonna get destroyed, and there is no way stopping from that. It must be really fucking depressing, really. And these kind of ideas, when they come to my head, I start thinking about them on philosophical levels, on practical levels. Obviously, I don't have experience how it will be when I'm actually dying, because if I was dying, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it, right? So there has to be some kind of level of theory about how would I feel when I realized, like, now we're gonna fucking die. The world is gonna end. So what can I say about it? Will I say some hopeful words? Will I say something that is very, pessimistic? Will I try to console my friends? Will I say some happy thoughts? Will I be very fucking cynical? There's so many ways to approach the very, very topic. Or like I wrote this song for the last song on the album. This is what I just called Solitude for a while. And it was about, even as a social person like I am, it was about like we have these moments of solitude. Like even if they're friends or family or lovers, whatever, surrounding us, sometimes we feel like there are these certain steps, certain paths, certain roads, certain trips we're taking by ourselves. So that became In Solitude, I Wonder, because I was thinking about the place where I live. It's really dark. I could show you the surroundings, but you wouldn't see anything. There's like darkness here, darkness there. Even the road lights now they're like gone because it's over midnight, past midnight. So there's this field, and then there is this hill with forest on that side of things over there, and on the other side you will see sea. So I was thinking about this very very environment where I live, and I was picturing these places in my head, and I was thinking like I could go on for a walk on that field, onto the forest, and see this frozen seaside during winter. It would be filled with snow and ice, and I would be there, just alone, which happens really. And this was basically writing that even though I'm surrounded by, important people, be it family, friends, whatever, sometimes we are really, really there, like just by ourselves. It's really like we are in solitude in so many ways. We're living in certain moments just by ourselves. some might say it's a little bit poetic, some might say it's a little bit pessimistic or dark, and surely in some ways it's are like. So what I'm saying here is it can be very, very everyday thing that inspires to do a set of lyrics. It can be very poetic one, or it can be very philosophical one. Uh, but the way I want to write lyrics is that it has some kind of a connection, to what I've been thinking of, and I feel I'm writing so much better lyrics these days than when I was younger, and all these lyrics really have to make sense to me anyway. If somebody else doesn't understand it, it's fine, but if I don't understand what I'm writing, I'm thinking, what the fuck I would write these lyrics if they don't make sense to me. So all the lyrics I write for Nightside or Annihilatus, they have to be something that I can spend a lot of time um, explaining them. I feel they're very, very self-explanatory. I think when you read my lyrics, you will be like, okay, that guy's writing about this and that, but I do not know if they make sense to someone else. So it's really hard to say for sure. But yeah, lyrics really, really mean a lot to me. Even if I don't read a lot of other bands' lyrics these days, but I couldn't, write down lyrics which are just pure nonsense. I would feel annoyed by it, especially when you're doing them live and you feel like, what the fuck I'm actually singing about. So that was a long answer for a short question. Um, Conservative Observer was mentioning I missed the demo times. I'm really overwhelmed with the most mass of professionally released album these days. I get you. I kind of don't really miss the demo days because let's be honest about it. Lots of those demos they felt magical because there were less albums back in the days, so it felt like more special. Nowadays, not so much. So things have changed. Um, Dan was commenting here that you mentioned that you are into video game development and gaming in general. What's your favorite genre games? Well, um, I always say this, and I said something of related to this earlier in the stream that I'm mostly into open world action games because I like the balance of exploring a world as well as doing the action. So I'm not into walking simulators. I mean, I get to walk, I get to simulate walking enough in real life, if you get my drift. Um, but I do love the possibility of exploring, you know, places in those games. So like after the stream, I'm gonna go for Assassin's Creed Shadows on my PlayStation 5. So yeah, but in general, the top three games I've enjoyed the most are World of Warcraft for social thing, as well as the open world context in fantasy environment. And now Jokonson, big thank you once again so much for your donation. Thank you, Jokonson, big time. €10. It's might not sound much to someone, sounds a lot to me because it's money that matters. I mean, it helps us to do the trips to festivals and all that stuff. So thank you. Um, so getting back to the video game conversation a little bit. So with World of Warcraft, after that, I would say Grand Theft Auto 5. I still hope to play Grand Theft Auto 5 once more before Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out next year. I really like the game, how the open world was built, how the missions were done, the dialogue, the characters, the attention to details. I'm a big sucker for details. So, yeah, it was fantastic. And of course, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is almost as great as Grand Theft Auto. I mean, atmospheric wise, it was better, but I like with the craziness of what Grand Theft Auto is. It's more fun, more more crazy. You can take a helicopter or drive a bike or start mass shooting in a city. Whereas obviously Red Dead Redemption was more about the story, which was really, really great story. Probably my favorite of all video game stories with the earlier Red Dead Redemption. But with Wild West, I mean, you're tied to horses and cowboy stories. So story wise, it was stronger, but action wise, gaming mechanics wise, Grand Theft Auto 5 has more opportunities. So all these open world games are different, but I really fucking love them. And of course, there are plenty of indie games which I've liked throughout the years. Tetris being one of my all-time favorites throughout the years. So yeah, I do love gaming industry in so many ways because it's so varied these days. There are lots of diversity in games. So yeah, great stuff. Gaming is very, very inspiring to me. And sometimes I get these really good like lyrical ideas or even, like spoken sample ideas from video gaming as much as from movies or TV series. Oh, Gaudis, that's really horrible to hear. Dominican Republic nightclub, the roof collapsed, leaving 80 dead. That's wow, horrible. Oh, Jokonson, that's horrible with the Kulttuuritalo thing. Accidentally stopped playing. What the fuck? That's bad. Christ Crusher is asking favorite Black Curse album. I don't have a favorite Black Curse album. Plastic Man who had this was singing Vermila. You like her project? Yes, I do. I like Ruska quite a lot, but the later not that much. I totally agree. I think Vermilia went to wrong direction when it comes to me. It used to be better. Can't say I have listened to the earlier stuff though. Well, I think the early Vermilia stuff was better than the later one, but that's just me. All right, Jakey, let's enjoy your Counter Strike 2 and make some, you know, shots. Finwraith is back. How did you feel about Ozzy Osbourne and what do you think about he passed away? Well, never was exactly a Ozzy Osbourne fan when it comes to Black Sabbath. I think his solo career made better musical things, in my opinion, than his career at Black Sabbath. Ozzy Osbourne always seemed like a nice dude, very inspiring. Because I mean, this comes may sound quite weird because, like I said, I was never a Black Sabbath fan. I don't own a single Black Sabbath release, nor Ozzy Osbourne. But what can I tell this much is I read his autobiography, and obviously back in the days when Osbourne's the reality show was aired, it was highly entertaining. And what I could learn from this guy is you can be level headed, you can be very rooted to your like this non rockstar bullshit. You can be this nice dude even if you really lived so many wild years with the drugs, with the booze, with just everything, And he might have been the funniest and craziest of all rock and roll people of all times. But he was also always, as much as I can figure from the book and the statements and the shows and all that stuff, he always loved to do what he did. He seemed like a warm hearted guy, much like Lemmy, not filled with bullshit, but still being this, rock and roll dude. He wasn't talking shit. He was being a nice person, what I could see. And I think he aged very, very fucking well. So I do have a big respect for what he did, not just with Black Sabbath, not with his own music, but in general, kind of being the starting point for the whole fucking heavy metal music. I mean, nobody pretty much challenged the idea that Black Sabbath was the first heavy metal band on Earth. I mean, that's where metal pretty much started. And Ozzy Osbourne wasn't really that much of a great vocalist back in the days, but he was there as the first one. He made the mistakes. He got fired from the band, but that was just another chapter in his story. So I think he was so inspiring character in so many ways. I mean, he fucked up, he got a restart, he got rich, he got famous, he still kept his head on his shoulders, being a nice guy, a loved guy, an inspired guy. And the last thing he did just days before, passing away was one did last fucking show. I mean, there's no way but to fucking respect that. In a way, I kind of feel shamed I didn't do a video about it, but I mean, it was already so much all over the news. Everybody had their piece about Ozzy Osbourne, how much they loved his music, how much they wanted this or that. So I didn't. I felt like I cannot really add anything to it except going for hey, I'm gonna get some views if I made another Aussie video. I don't think there is no point about apart from this statement here, this answer, to say that yeah, he was an inspiring character. But that being said, I was never a fan. There are other people I'm more a fan of, like Mike Moore from Suicidal Tendencies, James Hetfield from Metallica, all the people from Slayer. My point here is, like I said, I have a big respect for Ozzy and all the Black Sabbath guys, all the early, Ozzy Osbourne guys. But I mean, musically, I would be bullshitting you if I was claiming I was a fan back in the days. No, it was a curious character, but I like him so much more, him and Lemmy, than whatever Bruce Dickinson or whatever Lars Ulrich did. Musically, however, I am a Metallica guy, so there is that. So sometimes this is more like separate the artist from the art from the artist, and in some cases the artist is better than the art. In some cases, it's the different ways. For Burzum's case, I love the art, not so much the artist. In Ozzy Osbourne's case, I love the artist, no, not so much the art. If that makes sense. But yeah, I didn't make me sad when he was gone because after all, he was over 70. If something made me sad back in the days and kind of a cynical is when we lost, Chuck Schuldiner of Death, way too young. We lost Quorthon of Bathory, way too young. We lost people like Dimebag Darrell, way too young. So, in a way, I guess I've become more cynical. People of Lemmy's age or Ozzy's age, I mean, you already see it coming. They're guys with 70 plus, kind of a. So you're kind of a. These guys are old enough. They're supposed to die in a way. So it doesn't matter if they die at 70 or 80. They're already like dying. They've been here for quite some time. So it's about if old people die of old age or whatever they did in life, there is no tragedy. Ozzy Osbourne did live, no doubt, a fantastic life. He made fucking metal and rock and roll dream into reality. He had a family, he had a good wife, he made some rock and roll and heavy metal history. Nobody can fucking deny that. So, I mean, like, he died with his boots on. So, yeah, fucking great life, fucking inspiring story. I really wish we had more of that stuff, unlike some other rock and roll stars acting like douchebags. You might like the music and you're like, fuck, I hate that my idol is like this. So there's that. A long answer to a short question. Yeah, Johansson, but the thing is, we're not spending this money on beer, so we're saving for the trips. But yeah, yeah, Dev. Then I get it. Like I do understand why people do like or love Black Sabbath, but for some reason it never just resonated. Maybe I'm too young. Feels funny saying that I know that I'm 50, but I mean, I grew up. with Metallica and Twisted Sister and Mötley Crüe and Wasp. So by the times when I was old enough to understand anything about metal and rock and roll, including Kiss and all, Black Sabbath was like a different band. I mean, I came to metal and rock and roll of that sort, hard rock, in the early 1980s, almost like mid 80s. So bands like Metallica and Wasp and the others I mentioned, they had been already there for a few years. Nobody was talking in our age about Black Sabbath. And I mean, in a way, it makes sense. Early 80s, and Ozzy Osbourne had already moved to his own solo project band, which was way more than a solo project, obviously, but was using his name. And when 90s came to be, I found about Alice Cooper. It feels funny. I found Alice Cooper almost when we were in 1990s, when Alice Cooper had been doing his music from the 1970s. So back in the days when you didn't have internet, you were always kind of late to the party. So if you found a new band or a new artist, hey, this is pretty cool. What are these guys doing? And then you would realize, okay, they had already done 4 or 5 albums. They had been there like 10, 15 years. So we were always kind of a late to the party, if you know what I mean. I remember when I was like, man, maybe 11 years of age, and I wanted to have Europe's The Final Countdown release, which is a great album, by the way, and a really great song. And then I was realizing, hey, these guys had done other albums before The Final Countdown. And then I wanted to go, see what they had been doing before The Final Countdown, and was disappointed when the earlier stuff wasn't as good. So it's kind of funny that when you were that young and you would find new bands and you would realize they weren't new bands anymore. When I found about Kiss for the first time, it was 1980 something. I don't remember the exact year, but let's say 1984, 1985, something like that, probably. And they had been there, more than 10 years already, bunch of albums. But we didn't know about the masked era. We learned with Kiss when they were like making out with the hot women on videos without the masks. They were spitting on the ground like leg it up, and we were like, wow, these guys are so badass. We didn't even understand about leg it up, but it sounded so badass. These guys would walking up right up an alley or whatever, looking badass, or Twisted Sister for that matter. So we were always kind of late to the party. So in a way, like I said, I feel like we're a little bit late when it comes to Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath wasn't certainly trending in 1980s. So it was kind of like a band people that were not talking about, you know. So it was different. It was different. You would find about the bands someone had heard from Big Sisters or Brick Brothers or music videos, and you would learn about these bands like, hey, this is pretty cool, but you know, who are they? Where are they from? And then you would listen to the later stuff only to find out they had been out for quite some time. So, yeah, it was different from these years. Like everybody's now, okay, Lorna Shore just dropped a new album and start clicking and listening to right away. Whereas back in the days, you would find out you're listening to some older stuff because that's what's playing on the radio or TV, whatever. Anam Maria Lopar, if I'm reading that correctly, sending my metal greetings from Croatia. Nice to have you here. I love your content. I watch it on almost daily basis. Would love to visit Finland sometimes. Well, would be great if you could visit Finland. If you come here for a festival or whatever, just drop me a note and I can hopefully give you some tips, what to see, where to go, all that stuff. And it's great if you enjoy watching the channel. I cannot recommend watching Rauta daily basis. It's just too much. I'm doing these daily videos. It's probably too much for a lot of people. But hey, if you're enjoying the content, it's good. So I'm not complaining. Thank you for being on the stream as well. Croatia is a country that is not so often mentioned these days when it comes to metal. I've been to Croatia actually once. Went to the city called Split. This was, god damn it, more than 10 years ago. Time really, really flies. It seems like it wasn't that much, that long time ago, but now I feel like, man, it was like something like 11 years ago. But yeah, good times. Then he's asking, have you considered making top 5 or top 10 videos of metal related topics? It seems that people enjoy the format and it's a great opportunity to talk something else we're all into. Well, I guess it depends what you would like to see in top 5 or top 10 videos of metal related topics, because it's actually this so vast a topic that you could really go in a rabbit hole and feel like you're talking for some 1 hour or whatever. So I don't know how it would work. Thing is, there are always so many some kind of list of good topics to talk about. So it's sometimes hard to figure out what you want to talk about, what you want to include, what you want to exclude. It, I try to add those things to my list, like what I want to have them, and I don't want to make these 60 minutes of long videos because nobody would have the time to listen to them or see them. But anyway. You have more questions, or are we gonna go for a wrap tonight? Nordic hockey fan. That sounds like someone from the NHL. Do you know any metal bands from the Czech Republic? Just moved there, and fascinating if there are any good bands, good metal bands from here. Now I think uh, people from Czech Republic might go for Root. That's an old band, if I remember correctly. They're from the 80s. Yeah, they're from Czechia from 1987. So, Root, I'll give you the link right here because that's the first band that comes to my mind when thinking about the Czechian bands. Um, all right, then. Nice to have you here. Oh, you're from Ukraine. Hey, all the best, dude. Then I hope you can survive the fucking annoying war and shit. So, I know thoughts and prayers won't do shit, but hey, stay strong against Russia, okay? Then, and stay alive too. Yeah, Dubrovnik is in Croatia nowadays. Okay, Plastic Man. Hey, take care, man. That's good, and nice to have you here, and thanks for your donation as well. But yeah, let's keep then alive here. Another band coming from Czechia is band I'm gonna link here is Masters Hammer, around the same era as Root, from so 1987 and onwards. In general, Masters Hammer and Root are considered the kind of early birds of Czechian black metal thing going on. Even as if Master Hammer's first album came as late as 1991, and Roots' first album is 1990. I mean, come on. Back in 1990, 1991, not much was happening in Norway either. So, but they were overlooked, I guess, because there were no church burnings, there were no arsons in Czechia. So they're roughly the same era in the sense, a lot of Greek black metal. But what else is coming from Czechia? I really need to say that I don't remember that many. I mean, Metal Archives, I'm just now browsing Metal Archives. Metal Archives shows about almost 2,000 metal bands from Czechia. And that's quite a well list. Obviously, I'm not going to start listing these bands. I'm just thinking, like, what interesting bands I need to mention. Um, I'm thinking of this one band, but I can't get the name in my head. Um, it was pretty old black metal band from Czechia, I think. But fuck, I can't remember the name. And so I'm not browsing like if I get some nice ideas, because there's a lots of names I have no idea, like what the fuck these are all about. Uh, but those two are, I guess, the mandatory names when you're going for old school Czechian names. There's so weird names when I'm going through the list here. Like there are lots of names where I have no ideas. Like destructive explosion of anal garland. Like what the fuck is that supposed to be? Or dies with death. Weird name. But yeah, I mean, makes no sense for me to go through that list. But yeah, Tor actually, that's a or Tor. Um, Nordic Hockey fan is asking, is it ninth early for black metal? Well, it's early for second wave of black metal. But I mean, of course, from the 80s, you already had Venom, Bathory, Celtic Frost, and of course, some other names you might be dropping. And when we are going closer to the late 80s, you had this Greek black metal coming. And of course, then by 1990 or 1991, you had this explosion of Nordic black metal bands. Yeah, Inferno is actually from Czechia. That's good to mention. Jon Kasman is pouring some coffee. Hey, please give me some coffee as well. You know what? Time for one last beer. We've been doing stream for 2.5 hours. You're crazy people keeping me alive this much. I'm gonna need a piss break and then one last beer. So I'm gonna take these empty cans away from here, taking a piss, and then one last beer, and then time to make your last questions. Drinking beer is actually very, very nice. I'm feeling a little bit tipsy, having a couple of stronger beers, and we're getting lighter. If the first beer was 10%, the second one something like 8. Now we're going for a little bit less than 7. This is Smoky Road, a Rauchbier, which is smoky beer. And this is smoked malts, Magnum, and EBC 22. So we're having a beer at 2:36. I'm just sending message to my Malasebat friendly guy. Malasebat being the brewery that is with this beer. They're collaborating with me, sending me these free beers. Not sending, I'm actually picking them up. So, what we are having here is going to answer your last questions. I mean, this is not going to happen in 10 minutes or so. So you have enough of time with these beers. So if the previous beer was very, very hazy, you couldn't see through because of being filtered and all. As you can see, this is more like of traditional color and style, closer to lager beers and the like. Not hazy at all, but this kind of a copper brown, nice color and all, but also smelling more traditional. That's what this is all about. Nordic Hockey Fan is asking, what's your favorite black metal band with a singer who is a woman? That would be Asagraum. Good band in overall, and it's actually all female band. What's the worst kind of beer you have had? Far as I can remember, it was this Motorhead lager beer some 10, 15 years ago. It was really like having a beer like piss. I mean, I think a mineral water had more taste. So, in general, I like a lot of different beers, but whenever I go for kind of a typical lager beer, I don't really get enthusiastic about it. I think it feels very well when you're like, I don't know, eating greasy food like hamburgers, chicken wings, ribs, spicy food. I like to drink, beer with, like dinner or whatever. But when it comes to drinking lager beer, it gets me bored very quickly. With sauna, it's different because with sauna you're just like anyway sweating the shit out, and you're in this hot steamy room. So you're kind of like looking for some kind of a refreshment. Doesn't matter if it's mineral water or lager, but yeah. Apart from that, I don't really enjoy having lagers. So it gets just boring, to be honest. This is a good question. What kind of food do you like eat after a night of drinking? Calorie filled. Um, Usually it has to be something that is very easy to get and kind of fills you up. So I would say pizzas, hamburgers. It's kind of a traditional um, snack food. But pizzas would be probably the number one. Kebabs also. I shouldn't be thinking of food right now. It's making me really fucking hungry. It's been a few hours since the last time I ate. But yeah, pizzas and burgers and kebabs are probably the typical ones. You don't want to go fancy night eating when you've been just drinking. And I'm always kind of a thinking that I want to make sure if I'm be drinking, I eat enough. So it just like makes this possible next day a little bit easier to just deal with. You don't want to go for hungover. So if you eat heavy, it probably makes you feel a little bit better the next day. So something like that. um Maciek is saying here, Jerry, the STL Hospice live is insane. So I heard. Had a chance to see them last week at Summer Dying Loud in Poland. Paimon is so talented guy. Yeah, he is. He actually wrote me a couple of days ago after they performed for the first time live, and I'm so happy that they finally fucking did it. He's a really nice guy, and like you said, talented. So really happy that they're finally playing live. The downside is that since uh, Behemoth and Terrestrial Hospice share the same drummer, obviously Behemoth responsibilities are gonna just you know make less Terrestrial Hospice shows possible. So that's the downside. No, I don't think drummers are rare commodity. There are like lots of drummers outside. I think it's just more like really good drummers are hard to come by. But I mean, there are way more drummers than people admit, it seems. So I think there are good drummers, but I think they're kind of like maybe they play in too many bands. I think that's the problem really. And there are drummers you can get online to play for your own recordings if you're really to spend a little bit money on that. And I think it's so much better to do that than say going with the drum machine. Like my friend in the band called Flag. He hired this Polish drummer who is very talented, and they did some really good stuff. But it's not that hard really. All right, guys, are we done for tonight? Do you have some late comments? Because it seems it's getting late and silent. Or there's lag now. Suddenly there's like a bunch of comments. Yeah, I don't really know about that Mick Jagger comment. Yeah, I totally agree with the Inferno style of drumming. He's really, really good and knows how to change the drumming style with different bands. So, for example, Terrestrial Hospice doesn't sound like at all the same as, um, Terrestrial Hospice doesn't sound like the same as Behemoth. But I think we are here for wrap. So, let's call it a night. So, the next stream should be taking place in, I'm guessing, let me see, probably, most likely, October 11th. This is because the first weekend of October is already something that I agreed to do other stuff. So let's keep that date for the time being. I was obviously will announce when the stream is happening. But so thank you for these questions and all. It seems always like after 2 hours, people are fading away. All the major questions are done and so forth. So it makes no sense to do it this long. But at least you tried and you made some interesting questions and all that stuff. I will actually move on to my PlayStation 5 and start playing Assassin's Creed Shadows since it's only 1 o'clock, and I will at least stay up for a couple of hours. So now, good night, and thank you, dear Rauta audience. Stay tuned for next weekend with the Gehenna interview, which should be out there. And now I will share it you with Patreon fans and all. So now, good night and stay metal. Have a good weekend and see you next month. Bye bye.